In this video, I'm going to go over a little bit more of M3, which is the spreadsheet to support the P6 and 7. So if you do a good job on this spreadsheet, you'll get a merit. And that means that you've done a bit of processing, you've made some charts and tables and recorded relevant information. Now, I've not really covered anything on spreadsheets, so I just thought I would go over a couple of operations and things you might want to do in your spreadsheet. Some of you might not have used spreadsheets that much, and some of you might have used them way too much. So I'm just going to go over some basics. So in the game, I've recorded some figures every week from that boardroom. So in week 1, I've recorded my sales and purchases, stock and total and so on. What you pick to record is up to you. And if you're going for the distinction, you have to justify why you picked those particular things and why perhaps you didn't pick other things. So spreadsheets are very powerful. They let you do automatic operations on things and generate charts and reports. So let's have a look at some basics of spreadsheet operation. So if I have two numbers here and I want to add them together manually, I use equals for a formula. I can then select a cell and then a mathematical operator and then the other cell, and it will add it automatically. And if that value changes, this result will change. Not only that, but if I have a table of figures like this, I can grab this formula and pull it down, and the formula will duplicate onto the additional rows, and it will maintain its relative relationship to this data. So this one here will add these two cells, and this one here will add these two cells. So that's super useful, but that's not always what you want to do. So let's look at a different scenario. Imagine we have some VAT. Let's put some VAT in there, 20%. So let's say you wanted to calculate in this cell the VAT for this. So you could do 8 and then multiplied by this one. So it would be £1.60 VAT. Now if I pull this down, it's not going to work, because when I look at what happens in the next cell, it keeps this one, but it's also moved that one down. And we don't want to move that one down because that wants to be the same for them all. So we need to fix this one, but have that one moving. And we can do that quite easily. So in here, you've got G10, which is this cell. Now we want to fix it so the numbers, so it doesn't go up and down. So in front of the number 10, you just need a dollar mark. I believe you can do this with F4. Yeah, you can press F4 to lock this, but I'm just going to do it manually and use the dollar sign in front of the 10, and that will make that cell fixed. So now we've got the percentage applied to all of the calculations. So if I change this, it will update them all. So that's relative and fixed. So that can be very useful to know about. And we can do other calculations, like we can do sum, which will add a whole list together. So that's the total. So we could put total like that. So you can do things like that. You can also find your average. So say we want the average sales here. We can type equals and start typing average, So equals average, it's not coming up for some reason, and then select the average and it will give me the average figure. You can generally do that at the bottom here as well. If you look down here, that's the sum, and you can change this to average or whatever you want as you're doing it. So that's handy while you just want to quickly check figures, but you might want to do some processing on here. So the other thing we could do is make charts. So we could grab these two, the week and the sales, and we could insert a chart, and you could have we could have a chart, stacking none, switch rows and columns. So I had to switch the rows and columns there because they were on the wrong one. So that makes more sense, doesn't it? So we've got the sales going up by the week, and then you can customize this with your chart title and and put all your other stuff on. So I've made one there, sales week on week. Really, if you're going for a merit, this axis here, so let me double click, chart axis and titles, we ought to put the vertical axis, we ought to give it a font. Let's have a look. Where has it gone? Show axis line, charts and titles. Oh, I'm in the wrong one. It's the vertical axis title. We want this to be amount in dollars or something like that, or whatever it is in the game, amount in dollars. So you need to label these axes as well. Just going back to these numbers, if I've seen quite a few people in the past type in a $sign and then another $sign, let's put 200, and then they try to do a calculation with this and it doesn't work, and you get this error, and it basically says you can't add two pieces of text together. So Excel will see that, or not Excel, Google Sheets will, or Excel will see that as a piece of text. So if you want it to be monetary values, you need to select your range of numbers, and in here we've got the different formats. So it might be financial or accounting, or you might want more formats, more currencies, and we might want the, let's see if we can search for it, the US dollar. So now we've got US dollars. If things don't fit in there, you can select this and go resize columns, fit to data, and that will just resize it nicely for you. So there's lots of things you can do. You can do conditional formatting, so you can select a range of cells, insert, format, conditional formatting, and then you could have maybe a color scale. Let's have a look. Format rules, choose default format. Like that, I'm back. I just needed to go and answer the door, and that's the second time that's happened while I've recorded this video. So we were just talking about the conditional formatting, and I've just done it in a scale where it's lower to higher. So in the conditional formatting, you can use that to show low and high values, or the other way around. Yeah, probably that one, probably best. So you could use different color scales and so on. You could do your own formatting as well. So if I had a negative number in there, what I could do is select all the data and add a rule that if the it's, I don't know, less than 0, and I could choose like a red colour. Whoops, that's the text. We don't want red text. Let's pick, yes, something like that. So if a cell had a negative value, you could make it highlight it. So that's a good way of finding things in your data quite quickly. That's most of the things you need. You can obviously make your tables look better. You could add a filter here to your data. So you can then, I don't know, filter it by sales. Let's do Z to A, so it'll have your highest sale at the top. So that could be useful. And let's take the filter off. Let's just undo that and put it back to how it was. So that's the things you can do. Let me just make that smaller. So there's all sorts of things you can do with the filters. Quite useful. There are other things you can do as well to make your data more valid, especially if people are inputting data. So like say if people are adding, let's just say they're adding weeks here. I mean, realistically what you'd do is, oh, that's the wrong way around. That's better. Realistically, you would drag it down and it would do that. So if you were typing them in one at a time, you can do that. You can make it do them automatically. But let's just say someone was typing them in and you wanted to make sure it didn't have a negative value. You could do some validation on this row. So I'm going to select the whole row, and then I'm going to go to data, yeah, data validation. So in data validation, I'm going to say it's got to be a number, and it's got to be greater than, maybe greater than 0. And if it's invalid, you can show a warning. So that won't do anything and carry on. But if somebody just happened to type a negative number in, it would show me that it was invalid. You can actually stop people typing into it, so I can't type 0 in with the data validation as well. So data reject input. So if someone was to type 0 in there, it wouldn't allow you to. So that's a good way of making sure that data is sort of validated as it's being entered, you know, like constrained between 2 values or something. We've got an error on this cell here because this is not a number, so I can click on that cell, data validation. I can remove validation on that cell, but it'll still work on the others. So that's data validation. We've talked about formulas and formatting. I'll just show you one more thing. This chart here, this profit and loss chart, so what we've done, we've looked at these two, profit and expense rather. We looked at those bits of data. Now if I try and make a chart of this, it probably won't work. We get a bit of a mess and everything's messed up, and it's quite tricky to get that to work. So one thing you could do is you could insert a blank chart, choose the line chart, and then for your data range, you select the profit, and then you select your expenses. So they don't have to be next to each other, which can be very helpful. You might want to do profit against sales and see how they correlate with each other. And then you press OK, and then you probably get what you want. Sometimes you'll need to swap this vertical to horizontal. Sometimes you'll need to switch the rows and the columns, and we can use the row 3 as headers. It's already picked it, but there's some of the issues you can run into when trying to make a chart. So yeah, make some charts that allow you to look at your data, allow you to see patterns in your data. So we can see here my expenses are rising, and you can imagine what's going to happen if we keep going week on week. My expenses are going to cripple my business, and my profit, even though I am making a profit, my profit's not going up as fast as I want it to. You can, you should be able to click on this line and then add a trend line which shows a continuing trend based on the current input. So the next point might reveal more information. So, well, you just have to see how that goes. I think we can actually extend this here. If we put F9 and F9, G9, it's not doing. It has. It's added a bit more on. So it will show you where it's going to perhaps be in the next week. We could add weeks on the bottom if we wanted to. So x-axis, I think we can add weeks on the bottom like this. So you could do things like that. Have a play with it, see what you can get. You can customize the look of it. You can do different styles. You know, you can change the colors, make it look terrible. Yeah, you can make it do all sorts. Font. Yeah, you can make it look really bad if you're not careful. Or you can make it look really awesome. So just have a go with that and produce your data for M3. And then copy these charts into your P7 to make your report. So if you do a good job of this, you'll get a merit. Hope that helps a little bit.